Hedge hedge! Greetings! Salutations! Welcome! All that other good jazz? This is your host, the Mad Bag, and I'm back in Starcraft Wings of Liberty. I'm going to bring you actually two different Protoss vs. Zerg games. I'm not going to put them both in this one video. This is just going to be the first of the two. But they kind of correlate. There's a point that I think is pertinent that applies to both. And we're going to see that unfold. So, of course, it's going to be me on my main account, the Mad Bag. I'm going to be in Masters League, and I believe that both of these Zergs are going to be Masters level Zergs. But we'll see as I look at each one. Let's go ahead and take a look at the first opponent. The first will be Easy Warlords. Sure enough, Masters level. It looks like he hasn't played many games this season. The game that I played with him was this season, so it factors into one of these, either the three or the one that's not shown there. You'll just have to wait to find out about all that. Let's jump straight into the game itself. Here we are on Ohana LE. Easy Warlords is going to be your red Zerg in the top left. And your hometown champion, the Mad Bag, is going to be playing the blue Protoss. Of course, if I'm on my main account, it's most certainly going to be the Protoss in the bottom right. Now, I'm playing against a Zerg, so, yep, and here the rally point shows it. I can only imagine that I'm going to be doing a Forge Fast Expand. The probe numbered already as numero 5. After the pylon, he will likely come over and check out this Zerg space. So, I'm not going to get into the point yet. But there is a point. Ooh, and here we see the scouting that I plan on doing. This little point and this little point come far enough in that they don't get in this mineral line where I can be surrounded, but they come far enough in that I could see a spawning pool even if it were back here behind his mineral line. Ooh, he's going to do an extractor trick. Sometimes you'll see people do an extractor trick without doing an overlord to get up to like 11 or sometimes even 12 and then do an early pool. Just kind of a way to do a slightly more economic, very fast spawning pool. Looks like with some chrono boosts, I'm going to keep the focus on probes for now. Very soon, I'm sure, I'll be coming out there to plant down a forge. He is going to go for the pool right away. He sees the probe in his base. He's not going to risk trying to put down a hatchery and getting blocked and getting delayed and etc, etc, etc. And here I'm at 15. It looks like I did go Forge first. I think overall I actually like Nexus first a little bit better. When you go Forge first, you can keep building probes right here, and then you can get out this next pylon and even get a cannon up, and then get the Nexus down. And you hiccup probes less. You don't actually have to hiccup probes at all if you go Forge first, and here you see the pylon coming out. But if you stop building probes at, say, 15 or maybe even 16, and then get the Nexus out, and then just keep hiccuping in probes, just stay at 16, and then get the Forge out, and then get a cannon, maybe even a gateway, and then pick back up, actually, really just the Forge, and then pick back up probe production. Having the Nexus earlier, overall, ends up having a greater amount of probe production time, just because the Nexus coming up earlier on your natural allows you to begin building probes there, and then once you're building probes twice, you're catching up very quickly to the alternative, to this build, where I just built probes constantly. The hiccup in the beginning is made up for the fact that you have the Nexus earlier. I think overall I like that better. I like getting the Nexus first at about 15, and then getting the cannon also at 15, and then starting my worker production again. Something looks off about this gateway right here. I think this looks like a bigger space than it should be. I don't know, I could be wrong. I struggle sometimes with some of my exact placements. It's really the cannon that throws me off the most. He does have a third, I do see it. Seeing that third go down is incredibly important in Protoss vs. Zerg. If that third doesn't go down, he's almost certainly going to do either a pressure build or a tech build, both of which you need to see coming. The tech build, you don't need to respond to so erratically, but if it's a pressure build, if he's getting a lot of Zerglings or Zerglings and Roaches, you need photon cannons, you need sentries, you need some heavy skews right in the beginning. And there my core goes down. Now that looks like a one space, but I don't really like, and this is some of what I talked about, struggle with the placement. I don't really like choking against a natural cliff line, because there's squeeze space against a natural cliff line that wouldn't be there if I had, say, a pylon over here and I use the space between the pylon and the core as the choke. That's a lot cleaner of a choke, buildings are, that is, as opposed to your cliff line. Cliff line can be a little bit messy. It can let things slip by, and that can be incredibly detrimental. He's still on pure minerals, which I like. Overall, it's a good thing. He's getting a lot of drones here. Okay, he's just whipping out the gas. It looks like he's whipping out 2 at once. Do I hear a third? Nope, it looks like it's just going to be 2 for now. That's going to get him a nice base. That's going to get him the lair pretty quickly if he wants it. If not, the speed pretty quickly. If not, some roaches, or all 3 even. Actually, if he was going straight in all 3, you'd probably see a third gas. There's the gas. Saturation coming promptly. We are very close in the probe and drone count. As a matter of fact, we just tied. And he may pull ahead of me a little bit right here if he keeps droning really hard. But that's something that I would get back in the coming moments. That I would catch back up to him as he starts to whip out his tech buildings and whatnot and other units. It looks like I damaged the queen, but I'm not going to finish her off. One-on-one, a zealot can kill a queen, but he got away fast enough that, that is if the queen doesn't micro it off. If the queen takes steps and shoots, then she can actually kill the zealot. He switched the queens out, though, which is really smart by him. It looks like I might have planned to bring the stalker in and take a second go at it, but that looks like it's not going to happen because he switched that queen out. It's going to be tough to get to, and now he's building enough zerglings that he's going to be able to pretty much deny this. Roach Warren comes down. 2 spine crawlers at the third. I like that. The third is kind of orbital, and it is vulnerable. A lot of times it requires a little extra defense, just a little oomph. Just a couple spine crawlers to help things stay together, stay alive. And let's see how my build is progressing. So I did just now finish gateway research, and here come my gateways. This is a little bit earlier than normal, so I've spent quite a few chrono boosts on the cyber core. I am getting the robotics facility for the follow-up. It looks like I want to do something with just these 4 gates, though. And sure enough, I have a couple aggressive pylons coming up. Now, he had a pretty fortunate Overlord scout path here that saw one of the pylons, and he's got another great Overlord positioning up here that sees the other pylon, so he is fully aware of my intentions. And it looks like here comes the warp in. It's all zealots as of right now, and that's good because his zergling production is enormous. So if we look at the army count, he has a lot more than me, but it's all in minerals, so it's going to depend on how well I can use the 1 or 2 force fields from this sentry. It looks like I got one. I'm getting ready to have another, but I might not actually get it out. Nope, he didn't get up to 50 before it happened, and he is going to surround and wipe all of this out. Now, I did have, I believe, yeah, the +1 for that, which makes the zealots really cost-effective against zerglings, but he had so many zerglings that it did not come out in my favor. And I'm not totally sure what I'm doing here. It looks like I'm going to try to do a little bit of split play and just suicide after drones. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Given that I got my first pack taken out so convincingly, I suppose it's not a terrible move. You can see it does give me a little bit of a lead over him, but he's going to get that right back, no problem. So that puts me in kind of a bad way. He is getting the evolution chamber down now. I think that's his first and only. He is not getting a second evolution chamber. No, in fact, he's investing heavily into his economy and just now starting to up the gas ante, which I like. He's getting roach speed. I like the ordering of things in this Zerg space. I could probably learn a lot from it for my diamond level Zerg play. And that's something that I'm really looking forward to playing Protoss and Masters. I can learn a lot about playing Terran and Zerg just by watching the opponents that my Protoss faces. So that's kind of nasty. That's a nasty way for me to open up. We can see that I have gone up to what I think is 7 gates. Yeah, it looks like 7 gates. And I have the robotics facility, and I'm getting a robotics bay. Now, I can only assume that this is in response to the number of lings I've seen from him. I saw this roach warren, but production-wise, I saw exclusively zerglings. And that can be really, really damaging against a immortal-based composition. Now, yeah, and sure enough, here I'm getting Thermal Lance, and I'm getting a Colossi. Now, this is the major feature of this game and of the next that I want to tie together between the two. So, I have +1. He is not getting +1 armor. He's getting +1 missile damage, which is very common for a Zerg to do. If he got +1 armor, then it would kind of counteract this +1 damage, but given that he doesn't, the +1 damage will allow my zealots to two-shot his Zerglings. Without the +1 damage, it would take 3 attacks from my zealots to kill his Zerglings. I think having this damage and going kind of zealot heavy is a much better response to seeing a lot of Zerglings than is going Colossi, and we're going to see why. Colossi isn't necessarily a bad tech decision, but if you don't manage it perfectly, it can be a liability. And here I'm going to go ahead and field the Colossi. I'm going to get quite a few Zergling kills, which is the whole reason the Colossi is here. And he is going to just go into madman production mode. He's got a lot of lings, he's got a lot of Zerglings, he's pushing it on two fronts. It looks like he may start focusing. Sure enough, he's focusing the forge. He wants to take out my armor upgrade. I don't know if he's going to get it. It's getting really close. Oh, and he chooses to back off at the last second. And I come out a little too far. That's a little overextension. But I pull back into a decent position. And honestly, I think I'm going to be able to hold this, especially with the second Colossi coming out. But let's take a look at our damages here. He's lost quite a bit more than me, which is normal considering the Colossi. Oh no, but I overextend, and he's going to get right in on my side. And here we're going to see this even out maybe a little bit. Sure enough, when these Colossi start falling, one goes down. No, he is still solidly behind as far as units lost. However, the production that he's getting ready to pop off, ooh, I kind of like this, but I think it's ill-timed. I like the idea behind this, but I really need to couple this with a move up at the front, pressure at the front. This move up is way too late. I should have warped these guys in and then just held them. It does look like I'm going to go specifically for drones. Let's see what I'm going to get. So far, I haven't killed many, and I started killing drones, and then it looks like the zealots got sidetracked, and they're just killing roaches now. So that's going to get basically nothing. That's going to put the resources lost back into... Ooh, I like how I went to all three bases. It's going to put the resources lost back a little bit closer to being in his favor. And I'm going to go for a push at the front. Now, this is kind of risky. I don't like that I only have one Colossi, and I don't like that I'm up his ramp. I'm in a position where his reinforcements can come from both sides, and you see this unit's lost evening out very quickly. All he has to do is focus these Colossi down, and me investing money into the Colossi and them being a weak, easy target against this mass roach style that Zerg love to play right now ends up just being really costly for me. It looks like I'm doing good damage, though. I'm holding things together well, and my overall production is keeping me in it and keeping me in his face even better. He did lose some drones, and that puts me ahead of him in the worker count, but he has 3 bases to saturate on, whereas I only have 2. Now that I've just finished the third, that might even out and actually give me an advantage, but given that I don't have any probes down there, I would say he probably has the advantaged mining overall. He's going to come in here. He's got a pretty nice wide angle on this. This little bit of a wall doesn't provide me very much, and he looks like he might just have enough to take this all down. I'm going to run with the Colossi, just a little bit, I guess. He's kind of low health, and oh man, sure enough, he crushes it, and Protoss, who lose their entire fielded force, are in a bad way because I start from scratch on building my force up. This is literally all I have over here right now. I do have the Colossi in the mix. I am building another Colossi, but I don't have any forces at home. I am getting Blink as well. Not getting, let's see, +2. That would be really handy to have, to be acquiring. It looks like I did stop and pump out a few Immortals in here. And I'm going to get back in his face. I don't know how much I agree with this decision. Overall, his army count is way ahead of me, and oh my god, the Zerglings. That Zergling production occurred at the perfect time, and yeah, there's no way. He's going to smash absolutely all of this with ease. Notice I still took out a lot of his Zerglings, and really, these Zealots are doing absolute work. He doesn't have that carapace still. He's just got the +2 missile damage. And that's great for his roaches, but it makes his Zerglings just cannon fodder to my Zealots. I think, oh yeah, you can see the corpses. I just missed it. He got some Zerglings in here, and we're going to take a look at the kills. He still hasn't killed a lot of workers, but he soaked some of my attention. And I believe, yeah, I'm still a little bit up in him, but my mining right now, I'm just now getting the saturation redistributed. That little bit of mining rearrangement really hurts. I've got another Colossi in the mix, but again, I'm stuck in a situation where I have 2 little forces and a Colossi. And whenever you don't have enough forces to keep the Colossi safe, they become a huge liability. And here we see he has finally evened up the units lost. This is not good news for me. Now, we're even on 3 base, but he has a standing army, and I don't. Oh my god, the standing army is so huge. It's mostly roaches. Oh, and I'm going to get caught out. It looks like, oh, the sentries are even going to go the wrong way. Oh my god, they're not going to do anything. That is a total loss. One force field that does absolutely nothing. And I have the pressure coming down. It looks like I've finally decided to stop building Colossi, but I've already wasted way too much money. I've gotten Immortal, but it's just too little too late. The Zerglings are streaming in behind, and this is really nasty. I've got 3 cannons, so I might be able to keep this alive for a while. Let's see how things turn out. I like the positioning of the Immortal, but Zerglings in the mix make that nasty. I'm trying to do everything I can to try to contain the damages, but he is in both mineral lines in a bad way. My probes don't even know where to run. They're running left, they're running right, they're dying in both places. More Immortals coming out. Sentry's warping in and getting taken down immediately. My third base is in shambles. He's taken out every photon cannon there, and he has plenty of reserve forces, even still in my base. This is all but a total loss. There's no way that I can deal with this. Again, good positioning on a few units. Nice force field every little bit, but the food count, he's 100+ up on me, and that's going to be the end of it. So in that game, I saw a huge Zergling count, and I thought I could respond really well, really powerfully, by getting a Colossi out quickly. I did it on 2 base, and I thought that I could just, put together a nice 2 Colossi push and sink him, good night. No, not at all the case. Instead, he got heavy roaches. He actually invested in the roach upgrades and just kept a decent number of lings about to help deal with, the inevitable Immortal Stalker kind of composition, Immortal Sentry Stalker, I should say. And that's really good by him. I especially like that he got Zerglings but didn't invest heavily in them. He just kind of used them as fodder the way Protoss uses Zealots a lot. It worked really well, especially considering that I went Colossi. Now, I'm not trying to say that Colossi are just horrible to have and you shouldn't ever get them in Protoss versus Zerg, but I think I got Colossi way too early. My economy wasn't enough that I could field a big army with Colossi behind it. Because I got Colossi, I kind of had a small army, and it made it really easy for his roaches to just come pick off the Colossi. I never really got a critical amount that could really do a lot. And the army value, you even see right through here when I had those 2 Colossi, I had a way bigger army than his, but he just was able to whittle it down and pick off a Colossi here and there, and it was too much. I was losing too much money. I wasn't getting enough army out. I think, ideally, I should have just warped in slightly more Zealots than Stalkers, and maybe even added a few gateways, and went kind of Zealot and Sentry heavy while pumping Immortals consistently out of that robotics facility. I think that would have allowed me to deal with his Zergling count and his Roach count, and it would have at least kept me toe-to-toe with him, and kept my army in a composition that I would be able to keep from suiciding against him. I'd be able to use force fields to escape. I'd be able to just escape outright. There wouldn't be really any one target that he focused, so damage would be dispersed more over my army as opposed to getting the Colossi. Now, I kind of like the idea of Colossi once I've gotten a 3rd base, and I think even then, if I go Colossi, I need to do it by getting a 2nd robotics facility out. The 2nd robotics facility is going to allow me to every now and then still produce an observer, and it's going to allow me to maybe produce 2 Colossi instantly, so I have, the second I get the tech, I actually have some of it to work with. But then also, as I continue to produce Colossi, it would allow me to produce an Immortal as well, which need to stay in the composition so long as he has roaches in his composition. So there's game number 1. Now I have another very similar game to this in which I don't go Colossi that I want to show you as well. So thanks for watching this, and look forward to the next video. Should be coming out sometime shortly after this one. Hopefully I'll get them both up in the same day. If not, it'll be, the next day after. Not too terribly long. See you guys next episode.